I feel kind of funny today, guys. Like, maybe I did too much. Maybe I need to sleep a little bit. It's actually pretty good. Merci. C'est très bon.
That's the way it should be done. Tu m'as fait ma marche et je vais voir. Choula, il était encore ouvert, tu avais raison. Mais il était 7 heures. La nuit reste tard déjà. C'est seulement le temps qui est bancal, il fait chaud. Avec un vent frais. Ok,
All right.
it's okay.
Hmm?
It's okay.
What?
Here, it's okay.
Hmm?
It's recorded just what I said. It's okay.
You sure?
Huh?
Okay.
Ooh, I'm gonna walk
Yeah, I'm tired.
and stretch. And then I'm gonna do my mock interview. I'm like a child. It's like I did an interview before. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, enjoy your meal. Bye.
Thanks. Oh, I need to sleep, 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 sleep. Somebody tell homegirl to come put me to sleep. I'm playing. But I'm for real, man. Got a lot of energy, you know. A lot of energy. Ma. Mama. Hmm? No, just. Tu peux me mettre un peu de jus, s'il te plaît?
I forgot my key. And just here.
C'est tombé, hein? C'est tombé. Le bouchon est cassé.
Okay.
Ouais.
I know. Et là, tu fais le gros bébé. Et quand je vais dire tous les jours maintenant, bon, je me sers, je te sers. Tu vas dire, je te traite comme un bébé. Faut savoir.
Tu as raison, maman. Toi-même, tu sais que tu as toujours raison.
You're right. I'm stressed out.
Tu as toujours raison. Ça, c'est clair.
Toujours.
Ouais.
Et là, j'ai pas raison. Est-ce
Tu n'as pas raison.
Non, personne n'a raison. Tout le monde a son point.
Ok. am full. I am full. That's right. We gotta get to it. Get to this first. which kept the writing paper in front of the table on the wall, was an electric push button which controlled the lights. When Dr. Gates desired to draw upon the forces available to him through his creative imagination, he would go into this room, seat himself at a table, shut off all the lights, and concentrate upon the known factors of the invention in which he was working, remaining in that position until ideas began to flash into his mind in connection with the unknown factors of the invention. On one occasion, ideas came through so fast that he was forced to write for almost 3 hours. Kind of sound like Muhammad. When the thought stopped flowing, he examined his notes. He found key contained a minute description of principles which had not parallel among the known data in scientific word. Again, sounds like Muhammad. Moreover, the answer to his problem was intelligently presented in those notes. In this manner, Dr. Gates completed over 200 patents that had been begun, but not completed by half-baked brains. Evidence of this truth of the statement in the United States Patent Office. Dr. Gates earned his living by sitting for ideas. I like that. Sitting for ideas. Sitting for ideas. For individuals and corporations. Some of the largest corporations in America paid him substantial fees by hour for sitting for ideas. The reasoning faculty of this is often faulty because it is largely guided by one's accumulated experience. Not all knowledge which one accumulates through experience is accurate. Ideas received through the creative faculty are much more reliable, for the reason that they come from sources more reliable than any which are available to the reasoning faculty of the mind. The major difference between a genius and an ordinary crank inventor may be found in the fact that a genius works through his faculty of the creative imagination, while a crank knows nothing of his faculty. The scientific inventors such as Edison and Dr. Gates made use of both synthetic and creative faculty imagination. For example, the scientist inventor or genius began an invention by organizing and combining the known ideas or principles accumulated through experience. To the synthetic faculty, the reasoning faculty. If he finds this accumulated knowledge to be insufficient for the completion of his invention, he then draws upon the sources of knowledge available to him through his creative faculty. The method by which he does this varies with the individual, but this is the sum and the substance of his procedure. 1. He stimulates his mind so that it vibrates on a higher than average plane using one or more of the 10 mind stimulants or some other stimulants of his choice. He concentrates upon the known factors, the finished part of his invention, and create in his mind a perfect picture of the unknown factors, the unfinished part of his invention. He holds his picture in his mind until it has been taken over by the subconscious mind, then relaxes by clearing his mind of all thought and waits for his answer to flash into his mind. Sometimes the results are both definite and immediate. At other times, the results are negative, depending upon the state of development of the sixth sense or the creative faculty. So the sixth sense is the Let's see. All right. Mr. Edmondson tried out more than 10,000 different combinations of ideas to the synthetic faculty of his imagination. Before he turned in to the creative faculty, he got the answer which perfected the incandescent light. His experience was similar when he produced the talking machine. There's plenty of reliable evidence that the faculty of the creative imagination exists. The evidence is available to the accurate analysis of men who have become leaders in their respective calling without having had extensive education. Lincoln was a notable example of the great leader who achieved greatness through the discovery and the use of his faculty of his creative imagination. He discovered and began to use this faculty as a result of the stimulation of love which he experienced after he met Anne Rutledge. For me, it would be after I met Melanie May. I'm in love with this girl. And look at me. I'm a changed man. The statement of the highest significance in connection with the study of the source of genius. The pages of history are filled with records of great leaders whose achievement may be traced directly to the influence of women who aroused the creative faculty of their minds through the stimulation of sex desire. Napoleon Bonaparte was one of these, when inspired by his first wife, Josephine. He was irresistible and invincible. When his better judgment or reasoning faculty prompted him to put Josephine aside, he began to decline. His defeat and Saint Helena were not far distant. If good taste will permit, we might easily mention scores of men well known to American people who climbed to great heights of achievement under the stimulating influence of their wives, only to drop back to destruction after money and power went over their heads, and they put aside the old wife for a new wife. Napoleon was not the only man who discovered that sex influence from the right source is more powerful than any substitute of expediency that may be created by mere reason. The human mind responds to stimulation among greatness and most powerful. Among the greatest and most powerful of the stimuli is the urge of sex. When harnessed and transmuted, this driving force is capable of lifting men into that higher sphere of thought which enables them to master the source of worry and petty annoyances which beset their pathway on the lower plane. Unfortunately, only the genii have made the discovery. Others have accepted the experience of sex urge without discovering one of its major potentialities, a fact which accounts for the great number of others as compared to limited number of genii. For the purpose of refreshing the memory in connection with the fact available from the biography of certain men, we here present the names of few men of outstanding achievement, each of whom was known to have been highly sex nature. The genius which was there undoubtedly found its source of power in transmuted sex energy. We got George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Robert Burns, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Herbert Hubbard, Albert H. Gary, Oscar Wilde, Woodrow Wilson, John H. Patterson, Enrico Caruso. Your own knowledge of biography will enable you to add to this list. Find, if you can, a single man in the history of civilization, who achieved outstanding success in any calling, who was not driven by a well-developed sex nature. If you do not wish to rely upon biographies of men who now live, if you do not wish to rely upon biographies of men not now living, take inventory of those whom you know to be men of great achievement, and see if you can find one among them who was not highly sexed. Sex energy is creative energy of all genii. There never has been and never will be a great leader, builder, or artist lacking in the driving force of sex. Surely, no one will misunderstand the statements to mean that all who are highly sexed are genii. Men attain the status of genius only when and if he stimulates his mind so that he draws upon the forces available to the creative faculty of his imagination. Chief among the stimuli with which stepping up of the vibration may be produced is sex energy. The mere possession of this energy is not sufficient to produce a genius. The energy must be transmuted from desire for physical contact into other form of desire and action before it will lift one to the status of a genius. Far from becoming a genii because of great sex desire, the majority of men lower themselves through misunderstanding and misuse of this great force to the status of lower animals. Why men seldom succeed before 40? I discovered from the analysis of over 25,000 people, that's significant, 25,000 people, that men who succeed in an outstanding way seldom do so before the age of 40, and often they do not strike their real pace until they are well beyond the age of 50. This fact was so astounding that it prompted me to go into the study of its cause most carefully. Carrying the investigation over a period of more than 12 years, this study disclosed the fact that the major reason why the majority of men who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 is their tendency to dissipate their energy through overindulgence in the physical expression of the emotion of sex. Basically, guys, we like to watch porn all the time, and we like to nut. That's it, man. We get horny and we nut, and voila. The majority of men never learn that the urge of sex has other possibilities, which far transcend the importance that mere physical which far transcend in the importance that of mere physical expression. The majority of those who make the discovery do so after having wasted many years at a period when the sex energy is at its height. Prior to the age of 40 to 50, This usually is followed by noteworthy achievement. The lives of many men up to and sometimes well past the age of 40 reflect the continued dissipation of energies, which could have been more profitably turned into better channels. Their finer and more powerful emotions are sown widely to the winds. Out of this habit, the male grew the term sowing his wild oats. The desire for sexual expression is by far the strongest and most impelling of all the human emotions. And for this very reason, this desire, when harnessed and transmuted into action, other than that of physical expression, may arise one to the status of a genius. One of America's most able businessmen frankly admitted that his attractive secretary was responsible for most of the plans he created. He admitted that her presence lifted him to heights of creative imagination such as he could experience under no other stimulants. One of the most successful men in America owes most of his success to the influence of a very charming young woman who was served as his source of inspiration. For more than 12 years, everyone knows that men whom this reference is made, but everyone knows the real source of his achievement. History is not lacking in example of men who attained the status of genii as a result of the use of artificial mind stimulant in the form of alcohol or narcotics. Edgar Allan Poe wrote Raven while under the influence of liquor, dreaming dreams that mortal never dared to dream before. James Whitcomb Riley did his best writing while under the influence of alcohol. Perhaps it was thus he saw the ordered intermingling of the real and the dream. The mill above the river and the mist above the stream. Robert Burns wrote best when intoxicated. For old lang syne, my dear, we will take a cup of kindness yet for our lang syne. But let it be remembered that many such men have destroyed themselves in the end. Nature has prepared her own potions with which men can safely stimulate their minds so that they vibrate on a plane that enables them to tune in to the fine and rare thoughts, which come from no man knows where. No satisfactory substitute for nature's stimulants has ever been found. It is a fact well known that psychologists that there is a very close relationship between the sex desire and spiritual urges. The fact which account for the peculiar behavior of people who participate in orgies known as religious revivals, common among the primitive types. The world is ruled, and the destiny of civilization is established by the human emotions. People are influenced in their actions, not by reason so much as by feelings. The creative faculty of the mind is set into action entirely by emotions, and not by cold reasoning. The most powerful of all human emotions is the emotion of sex. There are other stimulants, some of which have been listed, but no one of them, nor all of them combined, can equal the driving power of sex. The mind stimulant is very influenced which will either temporarily or permanently increase the vibration of thought. The 10 major stimulants described are those most commonly resorted to through these sources. One may communicate the infinite intelligence or enter at will to the storehouse of the subconscious mind, either one's own or that of another person. A procedure which is all there is of genius. The teacher who has trained and directed his effort in more than 30,000 sales people made the outstanding discovery that highly sexed men are the most efficient salesmen. And the explanation is that the factor of personality known as personal magnetism is nothing more nor less than sex energy. Highly sexed people always have plentiful supply of magnetism. To the cultivation of understanding, this vital force may be drawn upon and used to great advantage in relationship between people. This energy may be communicated to others through the following media. First, the handshake. The touch of the hand indicates instantly the presence of magnetism or the lack of it. The tone of voice. Magnetism or sex energy is the factor with which voice may be colored or made musical and charming. Posture. The carriage of the body. Highly sexed people move briskly and with grace and ease. The vibration of thought. Highly sexed. The vibration of thought. Highly sexed people mix the emotion of sex with their thoughts, or may do so at will, and in that way influence those around them. Body adornment. People who are highly sexed are usually very careful about their professional appearance. They usually select clothing of style becoming of their personality, physique, and complexion. When employing salesmen, the more capable sales manager looks for the quality of personal magnetism as the first requirement for a salesman. People who lack sex energy will never become enthusiastic nor inspired others with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is one of the most important requisites in salesmanship, no matter what one is selling. The public seeker, orator, preacher, lawyer, or salesman who is lacking in sex energy is a flop. And as far as being able to influence others is concerned. Couple this with the fact that most people can be influenced only through an appeal of their emotions, and you will understand the importance of sex energy as part of the salesman's native ability. Master salesmen attain the status of mastery in selling because they either consciously or unconsciously transmute the energy of sex into sales enthusiasm. In this statement may be found a very practical suggestion as to the actual meaning of sex transmutation. The salesman who knows how to take his mind off the subject of sex and direct it into sale effort with as much enthusiasm and determination as he would apply to its original purpose has acquired the art of sex transmutation. That's nice. Whether he knows it or not, the majority of salesmen who transmute their sex energy do so without being in the least aware of what they are doing or how they are doing. They are called what's called unconscious competence people. They're competent, but they don't know how or why they're so competent. Well, this is why. They have somehow managed to learn how to not have sex all the time and use that emotion and that traction into what their purpose is, basically. The transmutation of sex energy calls for more willpower than the average person cares to use for this purpose. Most people just want a nut. When it comes down to it, that's what it is. Oh, jeez. Transmutation of sex energy calls for more willpower than the average person cares to use for this purpose. Those who find it difficult to summon willpower sufficient for transmutation may gradually acquire this ability. Though this requires willpower, the reward for the practice is more than worth the effort. So it's gonna be worth it if you learn how to control yourself, and not just bust a nut all the time. The entire subject of sex is one of which the majority of people appear to be unpardonably ignorant. The urge of sex has been grossly misunderstood, slandered, and burlesqued by the ignorant and the evil-minded for so long that the very word sex is seldom used in polite society. Men and women are known to be blessed, yes, blessed, with highly sex nature, are usually looked upon as being people who will bear watching. Instead of being called blessed, they are usually called cursed. Millions of people, even in the age of enlightenment, have inferiority complexes, which they develop because of the false belief that a highly sex nature is a curse. These statements of the virtue of sex energy should not be construed as justification for the libertine. The emotion of sex is a virtue only when used intelligently and with discrimination. It may be misused, and often it is, to such an extent that it debases instead of enriches the body and mind. The better use of this power is the burden of this chapter. It seemed quite significant to the author when he made the discovery that practically every great leader whom he had the privilege of analyzing was a man whose achievements were largely inspired by a woman. And I'm going to end it here. I don't know what else I need to say, really. But like I was trying to tell you, Malik, be careful. You know what I mean? I was trying to tell the same thing to Alino, but Alino is a little bit harder to deal with because he doesn't listen as much as you do. But just, you're already doing music, which is great. So use that to your advantage. That's all I'm gonna say.